Hello everybody, welcome to Strasbourg for my May blog. It's a horrible day here, raining away. I gather it's lovely and sunny in the UK, so for once you're getting the better of the weather. We've got a number of subjects here. The fishing policy I wanted to update you on, because you'll have read in the press about a deal that's been done by our fishing minister in the Council of Ministers to finalise the common fisheries policy. And it's a great irritation, but the press always talks about this as if this is the final deal. It is not. The final deal will be done between the Parliament and the ministers, and that's coming up in June. But for the moment, where we had the Parliament voting, for example, on zero discards, fishing ministers are now talking about a 5% de minimis allowance and a gradual introduction to that by having 9%, then 7%. And we are yet to see what the Parliament's response to that is, but I think we will be saying, no, it needs to be tightened up for that. It's not a problem with having a practical allowance, possibly under certain circumstances, but those circumstances have to be very tightly controlled. So we've got some fine details of negotiation there to do. But what we have got in the package is something which I think is really important for the UK, is the regionalisation principle, which is that rather than have Brussels decide what happens in southwestern waters and in the North Atlantic fishing grounds, that will be decided just by one or two of the member states who are directly affected, like ourselves, the French, the Spanish. And that can be only to the good, because the smaller the group making the decision, the more likely it is to be a good decision and workable. So I will update you again in June on what's happening with fish. The other big topic today in Strasbourg has been tax. The Prime Minister is arriving in Brussels today to talk about the ending of tax havens, taking some global and European action on ending tax evasion so that large companies will not be able to bounce around Europe, taking profits in the places where the corporation tax is lower on the business that they do in countries like ours. And we all know who I'm talking about here. Now, this is a really interesting topic for we Conservatives, because we're actually not in favour of a common tax policy across Europe. I think it would be disastrous, for example, if Europe got its hands on our income tax or our capital gains tax. However, we are in favour of cooperation, and it's getting the nuance between those two things which is proving difficult. Parliament voted yesterday on a report on tax, and we voted in favour of all of the measures that were proposed for having a common exchange of information and for opening up the books across Europe and for looking at having open declaration and taking really quite strong action against companies that make money in one and move to another. Unfortunately, the report was complicated by the fact that the Socialists decided they also wanted to call for a common European tax base, which is exactly what we don't want. So in the end, we had to abstain on the report, which is a great shame that they allow their dogma of common taxation to interfere with what was a very important issue. But never fear, the report did actually go through, and I think we will drop the common tax-based things at a later date. But I wish the Prime Minister every success today in Brussels on this subject, because I think it's one that's important to us all. Trying to get our deficit down, having billions of pounds in tax take going to other countries is really not on. So on that subject I will close. I wish you all a very lovely June and look forward to speaking to you again.